Yo, yo, yo. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Strength Academy podcast, your 10-minute daily dose of fitness knowledge. My name is Nick Byam. I'm the owner of Strength Academy Gym here in River Falls, Wisconsin, where we focus on training adults, busy adults, adults with kids, adults that are post-kids, adults that, are youth maybe behind us, but our desire for muscle mass and for an amazing looking body and to be strong and capable is still with us. And that's what we focus on. Our major demographic is 30 to 50, 30 to 60 year olds. And we focus on how do we actually train, build muscle, have the body you want without it completely taking over your life. And then this podcast is just our opportunity to be able to share that with the world, share what we're learning, because we believe that everything's an experiment, especially in the fitness world. You just don't know anything until you actually test it on hundreds of people, which is why I love our gym, because it's my little lab. I get to read a ton, I get to learn a ton, and then I get to put all those theories into the next program that we do in our facility. And then after that program, we know whether that theory worked or not. Today, you can hear my voice is a little bit hoarse. I just got done coaching a bunch of classes. Really exciting Friday morning. We're on our Medusa program. If you're ever looking for fitness programs, you can find them on Strength Academy Flex. That's our app where you can take that mobily. You can adjust your exercises, but follow some programs that have been proven. All the programs on that app are either have been tested already by our members, so people like you, or they are currently being run. Like right now, you can go on the app, you can follow along with the workout that we did today. Anyways, that's my pitch on Strength Academy Flex. Let's get into the real topic of conversation today, which is how many calories should I really be eating in a day? How do I know? How do I calculate that? This is part of our nutrition series. Episode 1, if you missed that, is what is a calorie, and I would go back and listen to that. This episode today is going to be about how to determine how many calories you need and some of the misinformation around that. So let's start with basics. I think the number that's in a lot of people's head is 2,000. That's what's kind of put on all the nutrition labels. 2,000 calories is like the average intake that like an adult human needs. And I would say that's probably correct for most males. Like a standard size male who maybe is not completely inactive, that's probably a good guesstimate of how much they may need to take in, 2,000. But it drastically differs between people. So there are people who their maintenance calories needs to be like 1,500 calories in a day, which is not a lot. And then there's me. I'm 6'4" and I'm 235 pounds. I need to ingest 4,000 calories a day to maintain my weight. And so it's completely different. Somebody who's 6'8", 400 pounds, like a strongman, I can't even imagine how many calories they need. And so what really determines that difference is the question of the day. So when we, in our body composition program, which is our weight loss program, when we calculate up how many calories somebody needs to eat, we use the Harris-Benedict equation. All right, this is just an equation that somebody developed that tries to capture, the metabolic process and what likely is necessary by a person to eat to maintain their weight. And what we put into that equation, we want to know somebody's height, we want to know somebody's weight, we want to know their age, we want to know their activity level. Just those 4 factors alone can get us a really good guesstimate of how many calories they need. So let's go through these because all these affect that number. The biggest driver, I think this is really where we need to start. The biggest driver of differences in caloric need between individuals, and what I mean by that is like, I am 6'4", I'm 235 pounds. My girlfriend is 5'5", I don't know what she weighs right now, maybe she weighs 130 pounds. We have drastically different caloric needs because we have drastically different sized bodies. But more importantly, I have way more muscle mass than her. And that's not me gloating about the amount of muscle I have. It's just guys generally have more muscle mass than women. And that's just the unfortunate truth of it. And the meta-analysis, the large studies have shown that the biggest explainer of differences between individuals in their caloric needs is skeletal muscle mass. It explains 2/3 of the difference between individuals. That's a crazy amount. If you have one factor that explains 2/3 of the difference between two people's caloric needs, that means that is the thing you should focus on the most. And so muscle mass. Do I have muscle? The reason that matters is because muscle eats fuel. When I move around, when I flex my arms, my muscle is just eating. Nom, 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 nom. And in order to do that more, I need more fuel. And if I have more muscles, every single movement I do moves more muscle mass. It requires more calories. And so it's an exponential increase in the amount of calories that somebody needs. And this is also why we're such big advocates for strength training, is because muscle mass determines how many calories you need. And if you can eat more calories in a day, it is just easier mentally and logistically to stay underneath your caloric needs so that you can lose weight and have the body that you want. Now, you can't put muscle mass on overnight, so that doesn't help most of us that are listening to this right now and wondering, well, Nick, you told me I was going to figure out how many calories I need to eat. Well, let's talk about it. So what I would look up is just a regular calorie calculator. Find one that uses the Harris-Benedict equation, but we're going to go through how these things affect it. So like I said, height. We always want to know somebody's height because that determines most of what their body size is. Obviously, there's variances between two women that are 5'5". However, I will tell you from running our body composition program on hundreds of people that if somebody is 5'3", if one woman is 5'3" and another woman is 5'3", unless they have drastically different training histories, meaning one is built like a brick shit house and they are full of muscle and the other person looks like a cross country runner and they're totally skinny, they are not going to have a very large difference in their caloric intake. And so people that are the same height as you typically need around the same amount of calories as you, because usually same height, similar skeletal body, yes, you can put on more muscle mass, but any difference in the size of the body past that is usually fat mass, and fat mass is passive. So that's something to remember too. So like I said, we also ask for weight. We want to know your weight because we want to kind of get an idea of what your muscle mass actually is. So something that I often ask people when I'm counting their calories, when I'm calculating their caloric need is, okay, let's say we'll take me as an example. I said that I weigh 235. I have a six-pack right now. I'm not bragging, guys. I'm giving you the situation. I am low body fat. If I came in to a coach and I said, hey, my name's Nick Byam, and I'm 6'4", and I'm 300 pounds instead of 235 pounds, and they type that in their calorie calculator, it is going to give a much larger number for how many calories I need. And that is a real issue. And if you're a trainer that's listening to this or you work with a trainer, you need to ask them this. Because if they're calculating their calories and you are significantly overweight, you have a significant amount of fat mass on you, that will throw off this calculation big time. So the question I ask a lot of our clients is, if they are significantly overweight, I'll be like, hey, what was your weight in high school? What was your lowest weight when you were moving around a lot when you were in high school or college? And somebody who's 240 pounds now might tell me, 180. And so I know, especially if in my head that's a normal size for somebody who doesn't have excess fat mass on them, if that's a normal weight for that height, then we can go off that number. And so I'll often do that. Somebody might be 240 pounds, but I don't put that into the calculator. I put 180 into the calculator because if we stripped most of the fat off them, that's what would be left. And that's the part of the body that actually determines caloric need. So very important that you use lean body mass, not fat mass and total body mass when you're calculating up somebody's calories. Then age. Age is probably the one that people get so up in arms about, and I totally get it because I'm 37 now. I've got 40 is right around the corner. And guess what? The people who are 55 that are listening to this are going to be like, oh, you don't even know yet, man. Like when I was 37, I felt great. And you know what? I do. I feel different than I did when I was 23. I used to hate it when I was 25. I was working with a lot of people older than me, and they would always tell me, you just wait, man. You just wait till you're 35, 40, whatever it is. And I always used to get frustrated by that because I knew this research at the time. And the studies are very clear that age, why we said that skeletal muscle mass explains 2/3 of the difference between somebody's caloric needs, age only explains 3%. And so that means, I did the math on this one time, that means that if I increased my age by a decade, 10 years, it would drop my caloric need by 100 calories. And so, I can't have that extra banana. Boo-hoo. All right. So I don't say that to emphasize that people are wrong about that. It's more so if you believe that age is a really significant factor in your weight loss issues, it's not. Age doesn't make your metabolism drop. What makes your metabolic rate drop, what makes your caloric need drop is lack of muscle mass, lack of activity. We all kind of knew that. So it's the truth's right there in front of us. We can't hide behind some of these excuses anymore, which is the goal. If you want to lose weight, you want to know exactly what's going to work for you. And then the last thing is activity level. Activity level, very important for us to know just because, obviously if somebody's training 5 times a week, then they're just burning more calories throughout the week than somebody who's training 3 times a week or 2 times or 1 time. So we need to increase their caloric need. And so you want to make sure that you are guessing on the low side. So you always want to err on the side of what results you want, right? So if I want to lose weight and I go into a calculator and it asks me for my activity level, and I hit 3 times a week most of the time, but sometimes it's 2. Actually, every other week it's 2. And half the time I'm kind of sandbagging it when I'm in there because I don't have a coach and I just kind of go in and do my thing. Well, it's like, don't put the you train 3 times a week intense on there because it's going to tell you you need more calories. And that might be fun for you because you don't have to restrict as much, but isn't the goal to get the results? And so it's like err on the side of caution. Assume you train less and less intensely than you think you do. And then if you need more calories once you get into it, you can always add them in, right? So that's my little note on activity level. 2 things that we can't really control that do dictate differences in caloric needs. 1, hormones. You know, like what I would talk to a lot of women that are in that kind of 45 plus range, perimenopause, some of them fully menopausal, postmenopause, and they say they just feel different. And while it doesn't have a massive effect on their metabolic rate, like, yeah, it does change something. Like, I'm 37. I just, things are different than when I was 23. And we see this, what a really good indicator of this is like, you see a 55-year-old man get on testosterone replacement therapy, TRT. So like essentially legal steroids, low-level testosterone, synthetic. They start injecting it. They start to lose body fat. Like there is something significant to hormonal adjustments, but unless you're working with a doctor to make sure those are set, unless you actually know that you have a hormonal issue, nothing you can do about it. Shouldn't worry about it. Get some more sleep. Eat well, get some more sleep, and that's going to fix most of your hormonal issues anyways. Genetics. There are some people that just, as a friend of mine says, run hot. Like there's just people that you can see their entire family, like they're always skinny, and that might be because, they just don't have a large drive to eat. That's a genetic thing, a mental drive. They call it food noise, a drive to eat. Or they might just, genetically burn more calories. And that's something you can't control. So you got to work with what you have. You can cry all day about the fact that you got a slow metabolism because of your parents. There's nothing you can do about it. So let's work on the things that we can. So just to recap, caloric need is driven mostly by muscle mass. So if you're like, oh, my metabolism's in the tank, which guys, that is such a misnomer anyways. If you're talking about your metabolism being in the tank, it just doesn't happen very often. It's not a very true thing. It's just kind of like something that people made up to make excuses about why their body's in disarray. It's like, yes, you can be dysregulated, but your metabolic rate is still your body's need for fuel. And if you're up moving around every day, your body has a similar need to fuel as other people who are doing the same thing as you. So like I said, the biggest driver, 2/3 of the equation, is skeletal muscle mass. That means if you put on more muscle mass over time, you will be able to eat more and stay the same weight, or eat more and lose weight. That is the magic pill right there. Build more muscle and your caloric need will go up. Your metabolism will go up. You will be able to eat more and still burn more fat. So just as a quick recap, height is a massive indicator. Most people who are the same height are similar caloric need. Age has very little to do with it. 3% of variance between individuals on metabolic rate. Weight, this is a big one, guys. You got to take skeletal mass. You got to take lean body mass, not total mass and fat mass when you calculate your calories. Then activity level. Activity level. If you're training more, you get more calories. You train less, you get less calories. That's one of the reasons that in our body composition program, we make people train 3 days a week in our facility because we know they're getting a certain intensity of workout. It's very easy for us to guess on how much calories they're burning, and then we're able to give them the proper amount of food for them to lose weight. This being said, guys, I said this is only a 10-minute dose of fitness, and I'm already going over my time. So that's it for today. How do you determine calories? We use the Harris-Benedict equation, and then these are all the elements that we consider, and it's actually much more simple than I think a lot of people assume it is. And so if you guys need help with your weight loss, you can always reach out to us. We have our body composition program. We run that both in-house and we run it online, and we've had massive success with it, basically because we just go down to the bricks on what weight loss is. And you also are going to learn everything that we teach in our body composition program just by listening to this podcast. So hopefully you guys got something out of today. You see clips on this, or you just want to comment, or you know me personally, you want to DM me, please hit us up. I'm at Nick__Byam on Instagram. We are at Strength Academy RF is where you're going to find our gym and see all the sweet training that we do. You can always join Strength Academy Flex, which is where you can find our programs, or you can join our body composition program. This was Strength Academy Podcast. Peace out.